All right. What's going on? Thank you for the people who showed up for my first drawcast. This is exciting stuff for me. A lot of the guys who do it all the time make it look so easy, but you heard what has been going on. I've been trying to stop my mic from picking up every little thing that I. Hang on a second. Let me take this out of my ear because that's distracting me. But the guys who do this all the time make it seem like it's super easy. But you got stuff going on over here. You got stuff going on just everywhere. You got stuff. I'm trying to make this happen. So I appreciate you guys being here for this first one. And I'm trying to work my way through the nerves here. Hopefully it doesn't bomb because my hands are a little shaky. But I do want to go through some of my influences as I talk about what inspires me, who inspires me, and how I got into stuff, how I got into comic books and things like that. So I first of all, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Let me see. Sticksboy73, thank you for being here. You are number one. You are first. True Believer, always awesome to have your support. Luis, I think you have to be on a desktop to be able to chat. So I don't know how to get past that. I've always wanted to chat on the phone, and that doesn't always come through. So just thank you guys for being here, and thank you for being here for my first live. And it's a drawing thing, so we'll see how it goes. All right. And then over here on this screen where you guys can't see, it delays for about 30 seconds. So it's kind of distracting. So just a little behind the scenes as some of the goings on when you're doing a live thing. So I wanted to start off with this, right? This image here, this is actually a bag that I just took the comic out of. And I took the comic out of this bag to show you what comic kind of started the obsession for me as far as collecting comic books, and then inspired me to find other comics. And so maybe some of you recognize the bag, maybe you don't. Behind here is just my Alpha number one. But if you can guess what was in this bag that I just took out for you guys, it has not seen the light of day since ever, really. But it was published in 1990, August of 1990. And this was the comic that was in this bag that I just cracked open. So it's not mint condition because it's got cracks down the side, but Todd McFarlane was the first artist that I remember really getting to like being enamored with and following. So it was through him and through collecting Spider-Man number one that I found this comic. And ever since this comic, the drawing bug really caught me, and I cannot stop drawing because of the artwork that I saw in this book. This is my actual copy that I bought off the spinner racks way back in, was it in the 1990? I don't know what, doesn't say. Well, I can't find it right now. September of 1990. So I pulled that off the racks, and it's been no looking back. So it is not in mint condition. Number one is not in mint condition. But yeah, that is the one that got me to drawing. And I remember in the summer of 1993, I found all those Image guys, right? All the Image guys, the Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, those guys inspired me to try to get into comic books. And then as you draw and figure out what your style is and who you allow to inspire you, you get into finding all kinds of other artists and one that I didn't know that I liked until I saw his stuff for the first time. And it's amazing because he's my same age, and he started drawing comics when he was 18, and I was nowhere near what he was, and I was just so inspired by it. I remember picking up this Deadpool issue in Ocean City, Maryland, when I was on senior week, right after high school, and I was just like blown away. And then when I found out that this artist, Joe Madureira, was the same age as me, I just couldn't believe it. But he has inspired me also through the years. So Todd McFarlane's artwork doesn't really inspire me in the artistic way. I obviously think it's great art, but it's really Jim Lee and Joe Madureira that inspire me. And so when I am looking to get inspired, I just pick up a Jim Lee comic or a Joe Madureira comic, and that is how I start kind of scanning to be inspired by them. And I'll even take some poses. I'll show you how I take a pose and not stealing the pose as some people do, but just allowing yourself to be inspired by it. Let me know if the sound is good. Let me see. Let me read through here. Brother Luis is here. We can make an Arab superhero. I've got some room in Alpha number 6 for some heroes. So there could be a Luis Shakur superhero very soon. Very soon. I'll work on that. You work on your superhero name, and I will work on getting the costume. So what I wanted to start off with in this drawcast is these are bookmarks that I am sending out with my Kickstarter fulfillments, hopefully in the next day or two. I've got some time. That's what I'm going to work on after this. But because the backs are plain or empty, I've been doing a couple of sketches on it, and I'll randomly place them into some of the comics that I send out. So these are blank. So I'll show you how I get warmed up, and then hopefully I'll have some time to get into doing a whole sketch cover for Alpha Red number 1. Now this is version 1.0. It was one of the rewards, or the possible rewards from a previous Kickstarter, but it's still the comic. It's not remastered like some of the new version that came out with this latest Kickstarter, but I'd like to get to that. I want this drawcast to be no more than an hour, so hopefully less. You get some cool artwork drawn, and make sure that I'm reading the comments here. See if I missed anything. Mint condition, right? There's no way this thing survived since 1990. Let me pull it out here again, and you can see the spine. The spine has been it's been roughed up a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, I'm super happy with it. They're a true believer. And newsprint, absolutely. I am a fan of the newsprint. I'm trying to pick Pete Sameti's brain about how to get Alpha Red on newsprint. So that would be a dream come true. So what I do is when I start on a blank canvas like this and I have artist block or whatever. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm back over to the comments. Let me see. Newsprint. Yep. Teach me how to draw. Call him Bambino. All right. Maybe we'll work on a draw stream where we create Bambino. What do you think, Luis? All right. Sounds good. How are they? So when I say remastered, the journey, the life of Alpha Red has spanned 10 years, and so from the start of it 10 years ago to issue number 5 that came out last year, as you kind of go back, like just think George Lucas had the remastered versions of his Star Wars, and love it or leave it, like leave it alone, or they got better. As a creator, you cringe at some of the older stuff, so you try to remaster it. You try to bring it up to current day standards. So what I did was I took 2 pages from issue number 4 and put it into the front of issue number 1 to give you the part of the plot of Ashby betraying Satan. So if you're not familiar with the story, Satan is betrayed by his right-hand demon, Ashby. And instead of waiting until issue number 4 to see that, I put 2 pages of that. I mixed around the order of the panels a little bit to kind of condense the 4-page reveal of that betrayal into a 2-page betrayal, just so that I can spark the interest and get get the visual of the betrayal and update the artwork, because the artwork was 10 years old, and issue number 4 was only 3 years ago. So I wanted to update that and bring that, and that's what I mean by remastered. And I wanted to just edit some of the wording that I used originally. So that is what I mean, sir. Yeah, so Pete Samedi has been so generous with his time. I feel bad if I just keep bugging him about the partnership program. I did reach out to him before I joined up with Starcross Comics and tried to see how to print on newsprint, but it didn't work out. So let me show you how I get inspired by poses, and then I'll answer some of these questions as I draw and see if I can do both at the same time. So I'll look through a comic, and as I flip through every panel, when you're drawing, is an opportunity to really wow the reader. So as you're looking at just the mood of certain characters, like that's a Spider-Man kind of posture when he's not fighting. He's just kind of a not insecure, but he's just kind of just your normal guy under the mask. So I'm looking at all these poses, and I just look for ones that kind of can stand alone, and they don't have to be front and center in the whole panel, but they just have to strike me. Like even this panel right here, if I can block this out, this is a cool panel, and you have to deconstruct why you think it's a cool panel. And is it cool just because it's in this panel, or can I translate that into something beyond this panel? So I do like it. I'll use that as a guide to do this, just because on this bookmark I have limited space. So I'm just going to set this somewhere close so I can check back into it. And so it's kind of off center. That's one of the things I liked about it. And I'm using a 4H, so it's a harder lead, so that the lines are not as dark. I got to get my handy dandy eraser. All right. handy dandy eraser there. And just the shoulder. There's, I think what I like about the picture is that the shoulders are sunken down and he's kind of reaching off camera and you can't really see what he's doing. So while I'm using the pose that I can see off to the side of my eye there, off to the side, I'm just seeing what about the energy makes it cool. And I think there's like a not stoicism, kind of a mood within the pose that I relate to. So it's nothing huge, but really that gets enough in here that I can start building the bones of a finished picture. So let me see if I can answer some of your questions here, Todd. Never do a comic book with newsprint. Yeah. That's honestly, that is really one of the things that I think would help with the pricing of comics, so that they can get back to being something that is affordable, something that is a little bit more of a impulse buy, rather than be something that you have to think about too much as you are trying to pick through which comic or what kind of entertainment that you want. So you don't have to choose between a movie or a comic book. If the comic book's only $2 or $3, $2 or $2.50. I mean, I think Alterna's normal cost is $2.25. That would be fantastic. I can get 2 comics for the cost of what I'm paying for one, especially one indie comic. I mean, that's fantastic. So hopefully you guys can see this. If let's see a little each panel is a separate thing. 5H here. So Todd, you draw? I gotta see some of your stuff, brother. I would love to see it. You should start an art channel where you're just reviewing artwork instead of maybe a whole comic. I appreciate you highlighting Alpha Red and other independent comics. It's awesome. So this is pretty much what I would start off with. And then as I'm going through, like, I have shorthands for when I'm drawing Alpha Red. Like his goggles, I always do pretty much in all black, even though they're not black. And then I go back and I just outline the outside. Sometimes it looks better with just the black, but there's only 5 issues, so I don't want to start messing with his costume yet. So if he gets a costume upgrade, it'll be like in issue 10 or something like that. And hopefully issue 10 won't be too far away. I was trying to look for my pages for Alpha Red number 6, because I do have some pages done for Alpha Red number 6 as I'm doing the fulfillments for Alpha Red volume 1. But and they're somewhere in this room. But my office is filled with trying to fulfill the Alpha Red volume 1 Kickstarter rewards, and it's Easter. So happy Easter to all my fellow believers out there. Don't want to forget that. But yeah, so this is the bare bones, and this is part of the costuming. I just have shorthands. Like, I know that the buckle on his on his shoulders is halfway. It cuts through where it comes in with the I don't even know what I used to call them horns, but that doesn't sound right. I'd love to see it, Todd. I'd love to see your dabbling. Got to see that stuff. You got to put it out there. Maybe we don't. It is a very personal thing. Artwork is such a personal thing. So it's not too different than this is kind of what I use. It's just what was it? I'm trying to deconstruct what it was that I just thought was kind of neat about the positioning of his head, kind of down like this. I don't want to overthink it because I'm gonna mess it up. But yeah, there's something about like he's exhausted. He had been fighting, and he's just kind of leaning on something, and that would be. It doesn't have to be defined in the whole picture here because this is all the panel that I have. So that is what I want to start with, and then you go in, and for these extras that my backers are getting, which I did not tell them on the campaign. This is just while I'm waiting for the trade paperbacks to come in. They have not come in from the printers yet. The printer has not told me that they are ready to pick up, so I'm a little disappointed. I thought they'd be here by now, but it is what it is, and that is indie comics, where, well, it's printing in general, I assume, that you are at the whims of, well, not the whims, but at the mercy of everybody down the chain. And the printer, he has shipping issues, he has paper issues, he has ink issues. I know somebody who works in a bindery, and she's actually going to be helping me get the hardcovers for Alpha Red Volume 1, and we were talking about that, and she says that her printer breaks down all the time. Printing machine breaks down all the time, so it just happens. So this will be a freebie for people. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I do want to get to the sketch cover, and to hopefully maybe do something that is a little bigger, with better composition, more thought into the composition. So what comics do you guys read? What do you like? I know, Todd, you review a bunch. True Believer, you review a bunch of indie comics and you're committed to that. But is that all you read, or do you pick up some mainstream stuff? I know you reviewed the Green Lantern stuff. So, like, the first pass is really just to kind of, the lighter pencil goes in for the composition, and then the darker stuff goes, I put in a lot of the detail, but then the final pass is when you really get to put the icing on the cake with the shadows and things like that. So the easiest for me when I'm doing commissions or whatever is if I don't feel inspired, and just more nervous than not inspired right now. it's easier to do just a drop lighting down from the top, and then you can just work off of that. But that really makes a drawing come to life. That really separates the amateur from the person who's been drawing, not the amateur, but like someone new to drawing versus someone who's been at it for a long time. So yeah, so I got stuck the other day, Todd. Here, I'm gonna pull out this comic. So I was on one of the live streams with I think it was with Robert Geronimo, with Geronimo Draws. And one of his fans asked, what comic got me drawing? And so I said, issue number 268 of X-Men, right? So I was talking to him about it and just really remembering, having like all these awesome memories, the memoraries about that issue. And then I walked into the comic book store that very next, I don't know if it was next day or a couple days after, and there was the facsimile of it with the Prism cover, and I was like, I don't even know if I know where mine is. So I ended up paying $10 for this comic, and I was like, I came home, reread it, awesome, and then I said, all right, I'll go put it away. And I went to put it away. I have two original copies of that same comic. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the facsimile. You know, I don't have endless money to kind of burn like that. So I'm thinking about maybe remarking it and seeing if I can do a draw cast and remark it and try to sell it for $10-15 just to get my money back so that I can buy new comics. So that could be a thing. I understand, bro. I understand about living in the past as a comic fan, because the new stuff, boy, I mean, the artwork in the new books looks pretty good, I think. I don't mind. I know people don't like where the colorist has a lot to do with it. I do like the line work and the skill that it takes for an artist to pick out the shading, and I'm definitely more of a fan of the traditional comic book art, but where anime and manga stuff, boy, looks like he's hung on a cross. That was not intentional, but that's kind of cool. It is Easter. But yeah, if done right, a good colorist can really make it shine. And I don't mind some of that stuff. But that's a warm up. Let's see how much time we got. I got a half an hour. Let's jump right in. Let's jump right into the old sketch cover. Let's see if we can't get inspired by something that Jim Lee drew. Right? My goodness. You open this and it's like another cover, right? It's like you get two covers. You get an awesome cover, and then boom, you're hit with this splash page. And then boom. This is crazy. I just remember just just flipping through this over and over and over again. So, like I said, I'm looking for an image that just kind of has an energy or a feel. And that's what you go to the masters to kind of to inspire. Like, they inspired you the first time, and there's a reason. There's an energy to them that makes them special. This panel, like, my goodness, like her falling into his arms, and just the weightlessness of her, and then him just grabbing her just in the nick of time is pretty memorable. So I'm just looking for a good pose that can stand on its own, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, that could stand on its own, but I don't like the foreshortening. I don't know. I'm looking for something more exciting because it'll be a cover, so you want it cover worthy. And cover worthy art, I think there are certain elements that absolutely work. And for me, it's partly action and partly dramatically drawn shadows and colors. So I only have line work to work with. So I'm really looking for see, I like that. I'm looking for either action or some dramatic lighting to really, that's cool, but it's, I don't know if I can pull that off on a cover. But you know, sometimes it's just a face. Like he had the quintessential hero face. So we'll try Joe Madureira again. Did we already do this? We already did this one. Let's pull out another Joe Madureira. Right? This is cool. It's a little too symmetrical for me. It's well done, obviously. I kind of like that. Again, with just a mood. I actually like her. That's kind of like the dramatic lighting that I'm looking for if I would be doing one. But this is the thought process as I'm doing it. I like this too. I like this Wolverine walking through here. And I have all these things downloaded on my computer where it's just as pencils, and they are so much better in pencil. Like you can see a little bit better how amazing his artwork actually is, and the colors obviously make it accent it or highlight some good things. Like you can't do this with pencil with the spatter and all that stuff, but it is just as hard-hitting in pencil. All right, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go for straight from the brain. Straight from the brain. What do you think? What do you think? So we'll go for, I'd start with the head. And I've watched enough Jim Lee stuff where he says he starts with the body, and that's really kind of he puts in the body and then puts in the head. But I've never been able to get that to work. So I'm trying to channel Joe Madureira right now, right? Because it feels good. So do the head. You do like a more of an oblong head, which is what I've noticed, which is not what I typically do. It's a longer head, and it always looks so much better than my heads. So you just kind of are inspired by it, and you recognize what they do well, and that's what you kind of put into your own thing. So go down and do his goggles. Do them all in black. That's where the horns will come. Do the hairline. Do the hair. Make sure it follows his oblong head, or else it doesn't look quite as cool as when Joe Madureira does it. And let's see. This will be his leg. I'm sure this is a Wolverine pose. I am subconsciously drawing a Joe Madureira Wolverine pose. But that's part of what happens when you are so inspired by a certain artist and the energy that they bring to an image. You can almost you just want to see if you can capture that same image. And so when I'm doing fingers like this, like a fist, it kind of I don't know, this index finger always goes out and is like Jim Lee does this, where the knuckle always comes out, and that's not normal. When you make a fist, it's not that's not what you do, but there it is, there it is. Jim Lee does it, and it's super cool, and Joe Madureira does it, and it's super cool. So yeah, because I can see the hand over here, and then the claws come out. I don't know, but this is totally not trying to be not trying to take that pose, but like it seems to work because I've seen it in my head a bazillion times. I'm not looking at it right now, but this is certainly turning out to be like that's exactly what I did. All right, and so he's got his battery pack on the back here. So now I'm looking forward to putting out Alpha Red number 6. I'm having fun with the script. I did use a writer this time. A writer reached out to me, and I said no initially, but as I was putting together my story for issue number 6, which was just a continuation of like the next day of what happened after issue number 5, the goal that I was trying to accomplish by the end of the book it felt too big, and I was just I couldn't eat this elephant. It was just too big. So I reached back out to the writer, and I said, hey, just if you have a pitch it to me. And he gave me 3 pitches in like a day, and I was like, bro, that is, I can see all of these, and they are such a good fit for Alpha Red. He kind of had the fun Alpha Red vibe, and he leaned heavier into the spy aspect of it, like the gadgets and stuff. So I was like, hey, that's even more fun than, like, my story was definitely getting heavier and taking itself more seriously. And I was just like, is this where I want to go with this or not? And he reminded me that, like, in his writing, he didn't say these words, but in his writing, it reminded me that my goal with Alpha Red is for it to be entertaining. I'm not trying to solve all the world's problems. It doesn't have to be a giant event. Even though the first one was a giant event where he saves the world from the devil, it does not need to be that every time. And so this next adventure, introduces a new bad guy, and it is it's super fun. I want to tell you all about it, but obviously I don't want to tell you all about it because I want you to read it, and I don't want you to ask any more questions about it until you read it, and then you can ask me all about issue number 7. So, and it's a self-contained book, but it leaves room, obviously, for other stories and a part 2, or a continuation of that adventure. I don't want to give away too much, but it's a bad guy, and he gets defeated, but he's not out, and so one day we'll have to fight him again, and then new bad guys are introduced, just like the good old days. I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to watch what I'm drawing, and I can't watch the screen to see if you can see what I can see. I mean, it looks like you guys can see. You guys got a pretty good view of what I'm drawing. But this is what I love about Joe Madureira's art, right? He has, like, his muscles are so round. Is that the word? They just have form. They have such a form to them where, real muscles don't, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, real people don't walk around with muscles that are like flexed all the time. But his characters just look super masculine, super feminine, and that's what works for comics, I think. That's what draws me to him, his art, I mean. So I'll just keep letting his artwork inspire me. I don't agree with all of the artwork that he puts out there. I know in the Ultimates, it was very, I don't know, there was a lot of sexuality throughout that, and it was hard for me to read. I still have it, but I don't look through it because of how it starts. I catch glimpses of pages of it because I have those downloaded of his pencils, and they're very well drawn. But there are some pages in there that are not for kids. Not for kids, for sure. I don't know. So it's nice to have this this setup here where I can kind of spin the page around, and hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing in my mind. See, this is the second pass, so this is kind of making sure not only does the composition fit from the original lighter pencil, but really you get all the nuts and bolts. Yeah, you get the 5 fingers in there instead of the 6 fingers that you can find on the Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane's last Spider-Man image of his last run in the nameless Spider-Man, the adjectiveless Spider-Man. He has 6 fingers. I don't know if you guys noticed that. He's like, he does the Todd McFarlane hands or whatever, and he's got I think he's got like 3 fingers in the middle here. Like, Todd really phoned that last Spider-Man page in there. I don't know, what artists inspire you guys? What are your favorite artists? Who are your favorite artists? Who do you guys follow art-wise? And do you follow comics strictly for the art? I know as an artist, that was my main reason for buying a comic, was the artwork. And so that's why I followed the Image guys around. I got to meet Bart Sears 2 or 3 weeks ago at the Syracuse Collectors Con, and I had to apologize because I didn't have any of his comics, even though I picked up Brutes and Babes, Wizard Magazine, and I love this stuff from Brutes and Babes. I just couldn't afford to follow him around unless he was doing an Image book, and he reminded me that he did The Violator for Todd McFarlane's Spawn. So, all right. So, as I'm getting to the nuts and bolts of the costuming, I can start thinking about the lighting, and it's always cool to have the lighting come from one way or the other, just to kind of create the drama of using the lighting, just to make it as interesting a visual as you can for the reader, for the consumer, because you definitely need a good story to keep a good comic going. But as far as compelling someone to pick up a comic, a good image, a good picture, this is what you need. All right, so let's do a, what kind of lighting? Where? No, nobody following the comic just for the artist like me. I definitely hung out with guys who prioritized the artwork, for sure, and we all wanted to be like the image guys. Let me see. Let's do lighting coming from like over here. All right. So you get most of his legs, most of everything is going to be dark here because the shadow is being cast this way. So that will help make his arm here kind of stand out. And I got to remember that this is a fist and not part of his knee thing. And then that means that this screen that he never used, it was supposed to be his communicating screen, but he never used it to communicate with the guys in the office. So, but he will in issue number 6 and be using, we're going to lean into the gadgets a little bit. So it'll be kind of cool to see him explore. I always liked that with comics, where they would get something new, a new jet, a new vehicle, a new costume, new whatever. So you don't want to forget about inspiring people to kind of get excited about some of that stuff. All right. Usually cast the shadow, I don't like that. Can't be so hard, I guess, over here. And then you gotta do the dramatic lighting on this side so that it's kind of like double lit. So you get the reflective light coming from this side, so you don't want to alienate the whole part there. Get that finger sticking out right there. And this will be completely black because the light's coming from this way. You want to leave that there. All right. And you got the striations in his muscles there. All right. You guys ready for some ink? You guys ready for some ink? So what I use is the Micron, Pigma Micron. When I'm doing stuff that's really, really detailed, like pages and stuff, I'll use something smaller, but because this is a cover and I want to see if I can ink this in 10 minutes here. See how much I can lay down in 10 minutes. I'm going to use a thicker size. Let me see. Is the music going still? I'm going to check in to see what you guys are hearing. It does not sound like you can hear the music. You guys have been... Oh, there is music in the background. Okay. There's a little bit. All right. So gotta... Like a lot of the motions as you're drawing or just muscle memory of like, I don't know, they're you gotta do the broader strokes so that it doesn't look like you're new to drawing. When you're new to drawing, you're not as confident with the brush strokes or the pen strokes, even the pencil strokes. But after you do this for a long time, you get the confidence to just use that long extended line, and like that didn't have to be perfect, especially for a sketch cover. The mindset when you're doing a sketch cover is slightly different than when you're doing like an actual cover and an actual finished piece. So if I was David Finch, I come in here like this and just like pour on the blacks. Let me see if I can pour on the blacks and get away with it. Oh no, did I mess it up? I hope not. But he would come in. You guys fans of David Platt? He has an awesome tutorial channel where he kind of teaches you his thinking behind all of his artwork, and it's just, I was obsessed with it for a couple of weeks towards the end of last year, and I just could not get enough of his technique. And he talks about lines of beauty and things like that. I'm just like, wow, that makes so much sense. And but I'm not, like, overall, he was not an image guy. I mean, I picked him up on New Avengers, I want to say. Was it New Avengers? It was an X-Men. I just remember Wolverine and drawing Wolverine and Spider-Man. And boop, boop, boop. All right. Yep. So, like, the more you draw, the more confident you become with your pen strokes. And you just, big long parallel lines are not as scary because you've done them. You've held your breath enough times before as you do them that you're not so scared. Just jump in. Just jump on in. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for posting it up on X. I tried to. I'm new to all this, navigating these social media things. I'm surprised that this live stream is live streaming. I didn't realize that you had to jump through so many hoops. I thought the other day, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna start live streaming, and nope, it takes 24 hours, and then you can only use your webcam if you don't have like a third-party thing. But I appreciate you putting up the link on X. That is awesome. I appreciate it. I didn't know you were on X, to be honest. True believer. I'll have to find you. I don't know if we're friends on X. I hope we are. So what I do, when I get done with this, when I get done with the normal Pigma Micron mechanical pencils and pens, I go in with an ink. I go in with a brush pen. I have some brush pens that give it a little bit more line weight, and that really kind of helps to sell the other little details. Like it pushes back these single lines. Like these single lines look fine, but they look kind of they don't look like they have any weight to them until you put weight behind some of the other lines. And then it really pops. I think that's really the secret of my style. I don't, that's at least that's what I like about my style, is that it kind of pops in certain certain lines pop, and I don't know if that's Joe Madureira inspired. I don't know if that's Jim Lee inspired. I mean, I like other artists too. Greg Capullo is one of my top guys currently. But yeah. Immaculate with his work. He inks with a brush pen, and it's mesmerizing to watch. I know it. Those guys who know what they're doing with ink, with brushes and with the quills. My goodness, when they're just like popping in these textures, and they're just like bam, 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 and it's like it's almost mechanical, but you're watching them do it with their own hands, and you're like, wow, you're just in awe of the skill that they have. So yeah, like fists and things like this, like Joe Madureira and Jim Lee do such fantastic fists, and if you watch them draw, they have like this shorthand, and you really, it's an easy style to adopt and give it the same kind of feel when you apply it. Like, this is the finger, this is the knuckle that they always kind of jet out. Up here is the knuckle. If you see Joe Madureira, he has he can do like knuckles like this. Like, I don't know, like he adds so much more weight to the knuckle, and you're like, what? I didn't even know knuckles did that. Like, yep, they do now, because Joe Madureira drew it that way, and so now I have to draw it that way. So yeah, I'm not familiar with Alan Qua or Stephen Butler, to be honest with you. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about Gilbert. I see his stuff, and I see some of the stuff he posts for, I don't know, I assume that they're samples for Marvel and stuff. And he takes his time, and the inks are fantastic. And then some of the stuff looks like he just goes over it with with just like whatever size pen, and he never goes back and thickens up those lines. But I've seen him use a brush. And he does a very good job with the brush. But he doesn't use it all the time. And the stuff that he does for Grok and stuff, it doesn't seem like he uses the brush pens. I mean the brush technique. Let me throw in some. Like, sometimes I can't stand that, like, parts that need to be really blacked out just sit there waiting for me to black them out. So I have to kind of go in and just get obsessed sometimes. So you go in, and this is, with a brush pen, you can, when you're doing, you can go thin, and then you can press down and get a thicker line, and that adds so much line weight, and it adds that professional look that you see with the pros, and that's what separates them from independent guys who just aren't that skilled. They don't have the eye for that. They're not seeing that that's what the difference is. And you have to really deconstruct everything. You deconstruct everything that they do so that you can apply it, and not just apply it, but know why they're doing it. So that even when you can't find a pose or a picture that looks like your pose, even though it's inspired by them, but you need different lighting or whatever, you can go back to their technique because you understand why they used those lines to create that texture or whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna spend maybe another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll call it quits for this draw stream. If you guys want to ask any questions, I'll take a peek up and see if I can't answer them before we call it a stream. See. Thank you, Little by Little Homeschool, with the chat. Thank you for watching, tuning in. Love homeschoolers. I love that homeschoolers can learn from YouTube videos like this. Learn to draw with James and Nguyen on live streams. So what else? What else are you guys interested in as far as learning what it is that independent comic creators go through? Like, are you interested in the practical stuff, like where we print our comics, how we format stuff? I find that a lot of independent creators just don't know that stuff, don't think about that stuff, and it's pretty important because the final product suffers if you don't know good lettering. Just those things set you apart when you're presenting your baby, your independent baby, out to the world. And the lettering is bad. Like the artwork is good, and maybe the story is pretty good, but then the lettering is bad, or you formatted it wrong and it prints out, and the gutters are super close to the edge of the page, and you're working with a printer that doesn't really care. They're just getting paid either way, whether your independent comic looks like trash or not. So is that anything that you guys want to know about? Yeah. So this is like this kind of stuff, the rendering where you're figuring out like how do you transition from something that's white and bright into the shade. And this is where Jim Lee came in. And when he came in and he was doing like the double lighting, you would have like this light and then the reflective light. And so he would do this. He was like famous for turning that into like, and I think he did that a lot, and that changed how a lot of people drew, because they started copying that, and they didn't understand that in real drawing, in fine arts, there's a line where the light is coming from, and then it creates this contrast line that is as dark as it needs to be, depending on how strong the light is. But then on the other side of it, is reflecting the bottom of whatever your, if it's the table or the floor or whatever, the light hits that and then comes back up onto that same object, and it lights it from the other side. And a lot of colors will use it as a different color, but if you're not using it and you're just doing the inks, Jim Lee was just kind of grading it down to render it that way, and a lot of people just copied it, and they were putting it all over the place, and that's not where they were putting it in places that it should not have gone. So understand, when I say deconstruct your favorite artist, understand why they're using the lines that they're using, because often it's just their version of how to translate what they see in their mind, see in real life, and how to translate it onto the page, onto a printable page. So but yeah. So Todd, if you're still out there, what kind of artwork do you draw? Do you stick with the superheroes? Because I know your genre, your taste in comics varies. And so do you tend to lean towards the superhero, or are you more into the eerie stuff, the horror stuff? What are you into? Let me see if I missed anything from you. No, we're good. So let me finish up the top of the head here, and we can call this done for the stream, and I will finish it up and post a link on social media and use the finished picture as an example. So gotta get the hairline. The hairline is super important when you're trying to establish a superhero. You gotta have a superheroic hairline, like Mr. True Believer, right? Right, Dad? I'm kidding. But can't let it can't phone it in. Can't phone in the hairline, because it's just immersion, right? Everything is immersion. Like, real people don't look like superheroes, and we know that. But the style of the artist, we have to buy into as that being realistic for that world. And once you kind of do something wrong with outside of that style, it takes the reader out of the immersion of that style. And that's where people, I think, recognize that an artist is not good. Amateur versus pro. Sometimes colors can come in and help you out, but you can't depend on that. You can't depend on that. All right, guys. Well, I don't want to keep you. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm finishing this, but let me know. Let me know if you want me to finish this. Are you interested in watching? I can just keep it going. But if you don't, I can shut her off. Well, that's good to hear. All right, Mr. True Believer says, go ahead and finish it. On RPG sketching. Okay. Have you ever been published, Todd? Have you ever been published in RPG games? I've done some card work myself for Upper Deck. They paid you almost nothing, so they gave you artist proof cards. And you could sell those for $1 bazillion if you have the fan base, which I had fan base enough to, I think I charged 50 or $60 per card that I had, but that was 30 cards of getting paid $1, and then they gave you like 5 artist proof cards, and you were trying to make back as much money as you spent in time doing their 30 cards as you could. So it was not worth the money, but you get bragging rights, and you can put it on your resume that you did some marble cards for Upper Deck. Nice. So Todd, I got somebody liked one of my posts, and their last name was Cannon, and so I was like, how do I know this person? So I followed her link. It turns out it was your wife. She said she was married to a rock star. I was like, what? She's married to a rock star? I thought she was married to my buddy, True Believer. And sure enough, you sound like a rock star. Yeah. There was a video. Am I mistaken? Am I mistaken, sir? Alright, let's we're in the home stretch. I know it doesn't feel like the home stretch, but like the last couple of pieces of it, once you get this far, the last couple of pieces of it fall together pretty quick. Pulled a baddie right here. His legs should be somewhere up there, but we'll pretend that we did that on purpose. Yeah, so Jim Lee used to do this thing where he would put like a little circle at the top of the muscle. And I saw guys doing this, and you're like, why'd you do that circle there? He's not just putting random circles, it's like the height of the muscle. And that at the same time, you know, he would have this line, and he would do that, and then he would do his contrast line, and that would flow into the reflective thing. And guys were trying to copy certain parts of it and then didn't get the other parts. Like, there's a reason why he put those lines there. Art by Todd Cannon. I definitely will check it out. Nice. Definitely checking that out, Todd. Definitely gonna check that out. But yeah. Know why your favorite comic book artist is doing some of the things. If their stuff inspires you, when you see their stuff, you go, boy, let me see if I can do that. And that's all it was for me growing up. When I saw these guys, I was kind of blown away, and I said, I got to try that. Can I do that? Is that something that is only reserved for special people with special talents, or is that something that I can learn to do with some repetition and practice? And turns out you can get pretty close with repetition and practice. And I'm sure if I was a comic book artist by day, I could probably improve by leaps and bounds. See, as I'm coming down, you push down a little harder, you get that little bit of line weight, and then that adds to the feel that the underneath here is being affected by light that's coming from the top. And then at the top of the muscle, you just keep it thin. And then when you're coming around the knee here, the light's coming from over here. So you can go into it, cover up all those little jaggedies, and then you can come back up here and, just make sure that as you're coming around the bottom, that's where you put the pressure, and that's when the line looks like it's definitely more intentional. Your brain just automatically accepts it as a more realistic representation. That being said, I don't always remember, so maybe ignore that part. You don't have time to pursue it. That's right. Lines are not random. There's the nonsensical hatching. Yep, the hatch marks. Oh my goodness, right? Like, brother, just figure out why they're doing it before you make a fool of yourself. But they don't, and they make a fool of themselves. Let's boom. Oops. And so yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. That would help me out. It would encourage me to continue making some videos. I do enjoy teaching people. I don't know if, even though my journey, everybody's journey in independent comics is going to be different, but to know how everybody does it kind of gives you a peek into the possible, especially if you don't know anybody. And it just feels like magic. Like people come out of nowhere and they have they have a book that people will pay tens of thousands of dollars to support. Like, how do those people get those fans? How do those people where do those people print their books? That's some things are as simple as that. I'm finding out myself that the options that I thought were the only options are not the only options. I found a printer much closer to my house. Well, not much closer, but within driving distance, whereas I was using a company down in Florida, which they did a fine job. I actually liked them a lot, but the shipping costs were prohibitive to making any actual money. Not that I'm doing it for money. If you haven't watched my video, my latest post from Wednesday, I talk about why I do it. And some people have their different whys. But although I'm not doing it for the money, it does need to sustain itself. There's only so much budget in there for, you spend all the time. It takes about 12 hours for me for each page. When you add up all the writing and the penciling and inking, that's 12 hours per page. It's 22 pages, 22, 24 pages per comic. All that time adds up. Like, how much do you get paid an hour? Just think about that. And then as an artist, the creator of the comic, you don't get that back. You know, people scoff at the $5 price when the creator is just trying to recoup some of the money that they use to create the comic. So if you are an independent creator catching this video, what topics would you find interesting? There's a lot of not interesting things about independent comics, because it is a entrepreneurial. It's like a small business, except you don't make any money. It's a non-profit. Yeah, independent comics are non-profits. Can we get a tax break, Mr. Biden? Can we get a tax break as independent comic book creators, non-profits? Come on. Whoops, I forgot. There's another. I forgot to remind myself that there's another thing there. All right. Finish up the head. This is what I mean by going back and just kind of outlining some of the outline, and what it does is, like, that line pushes back that line, and when I do this, it pulls the head out and it pushes back that, and it pushes back this line when I go in and really apply the shadows for this top line. This top line really doesn't have a line. It's just kind of accented by the shadows that go underneath it. But up here, and I can call it quits here. Of course, I noodle with it forever. That's all me being OCD, but I noodle with stuff for much too long. All right, so I am gonna start putting original art onto my Etsy store. So if anybody stayed this long, I'm gonna start putting up stuff on jamesq.net. Takes you to my Etsy store. alpharedcomic.com takes you to Starcross, where you can buy my comics now, and then jamesq.net takes you to the Etsy store. So there's only a couple of things up right now, but we're just gonna call this a day here. And this is my signature that I made up way long ago, and it's just James Q. And then I like to come back and do a little bit of something like that. All right, let me see. Comic Book Odyssey, thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. You have any thoughts on character design? What's your process for designing a character? So I think for most of my character designs, I'm just inspired by a lot of different comics, and not just comics, but like in movies, like watching the Marvel movies, all the superhero movies. they're like adapting like Brian Hitch's Ultimates costuming, and then like I don't know, it takes all that stuff, and when I go in there, I like buckles. I don't know, I didn't realize I liked buckles until I analyzed a lot of my character designs, and they all seem to have buckles. So apparently I like buckles. I don't know where that comes from, but belts and buckles, maybe it's a product of me being a product of the 90s comic book wave of Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, that kind of stuff has influenced me. But really, just from everywhere. I think colors have a lot to do with it. I know that I'm drawn to certain character designs based on just their color. If it's, and it reminds me of Jim Lee's run where they were on Genosha. I don't know. People say it different, but they had these prison suits or whatever, and they were like the coolest things, and they were just like pretty much naked people with like lines here and there, and then they had certain colors. So I found those to be compelling. So it doesn't take a whole lot, I don't think, to have a good character design, but characters that stick around, I think, not only have a good character design, but they're good characters. Like Spider-Man has staying power because of Peter Parker. He has a really awesome costume, but really it's the character also, not just the character design. But as far as design goes, Spider-Man is pretty top notch, and it's hard to go wrong with the blue and the red. So, I don't know, that has a huge thing to do with it, I think. Duran showed up. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming. You get training for the signatures and stuff. I just have fun, brother. I just have fun. From every stroke of the pen, it sounds cooler if you like, I don't know, Duran, if you remember Robert Estes from school. He would do these battles. He would draw these spaceships, and then they would attack each other, and he would destroy one spaceship after another, and all the spaceships had giant missiles, and they destroyed each other. But let me see, I used to fixate on being totally original, but now I give into absolutely. So here, I'm gonna pull out a picture of, hang on, don't leave me. So Alpha Red is a derivative of, I don't know if you can tell who he's derived from, but I've spoken about it before. If I can just pull out, I got comics everywhere now. But he was inspired by Deadpool's coloring. There were certain aspects of it that I liked, and certain aspects of it that I didn't. So with Alpha Red, let's get I'm sure there's a bigger picture of Alpha Red. So his goggles and stuff were inspired by Cyclops of the X-Men. I was a big X-Men fan, a big Spider-Man fan, and a big Deadpool fan before he became too potty-mouthed. He's still fun and funny, but I tend to listen less and less to the current iteration of Deadpool. But back when I really liked Deadpool, that's what inspired his main coloring. Not every aspect of the coloring. He has like opposite colors on his arms and stuff. But yeah, he's pretty much a derivative of Deadpool, inspired, obviously. Deadpool doesn't have the little horns on his things, but that's where it kind of comes from. Let's see, I don't want to miss any, whatever. Yeah, well, thank you. This is one of my favorite covers, and I have an argument with a friend of mine online here, and his favorite cover, and he always says it every time I put it up. And I tell him it's a three-way tie between his favorite cover which is this one, which I've leaned into. This is one of my favorite images of Alpha Red for sure. But then this is also one of my favorite covers. I love Transformers, and so I created a Transformer for my comic book. And Omega Black is one of my. I think it's a good design, and it's one of my favorite images. And then the third is issue number 5, which was inspired by many different Drew Struzan images, where he has like multiple characters, and some are big back here, and the guy in the foreground is kind of the main character, but like everybody else is in there. Oliver Coipel has an X-Men cover that is very similar to this, but yeah, that is I do have that. He does. That was not the Ryan Reynolds was not the inspiration for Alpha Red. There was there is somebody that I kind of used his face, but I do have a new actor that I would love to see as Alpha Red. I don't know his name, but I think I will use him as kind of a guide to. He does Reacher, the Prime, the Prime Video, the Amazon Prime thing. So Struzan is the master for sure. But yeah, so I don't know. Do you guys want to see me? I'll just call this a quits for this time. I really want to thank everybody for showing up and just being a part of the first draw stream. Thank you for being with me through the nerves of the first 5 or 10 minutes, and I appreciate you guys sticking around, especially you, Todd. Thanks for sticking around and asking me questions to kind of get me through it. And I hope to do one a week, one of these a week, one of the other normal kind of videos a week, and maybe I want to start maybe reviewing some Christian comics, not just independent comics. I know, Todd, you do all kinds of independent comics, but I really want to encourage Christian creators to just get your stuff out there. There's not enough good comics, and not just well-drawn comics, and not just well-written comics, but really comics that honor our faith. So, and it doesn't have to hit you over the head with faith, but don't shy away from it. Alpha Red is faith-based, but it's not. I don't feel that it's heavy-handed. It's just an element of the character. So he's a flawed character that is going to need God's help and guidance. So, but he stumbles around just like I do. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you sticking around. I appreciate you being here. And if you want to buy Alpha Red comics, just go to alpharedcomic.com. Issue number 3, for those of you who didn't pick it up before I took it offline everywhere else, we're up to issue number 3 in April. And then jamesq.net will be my Etsy store where I sell other original stuff. Thank you so much for sticking around, guys. I couldn't be happier with you guys being here and supporting me doing this stuff. Just trying something new and trying to be another voice in this space, this crazy independent comic space. So I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Thank you for checking out the Alpha Red Comic channel, and we will see you guys next time. Grace and peace.